Ghanaians will enjoy another 3 months of free water and electricity supply as government further reduces the burden of the coronavirus pandemic on its citizenry. Now, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, who announced this during his mid-year budget review, explained the government has the concerns and aspirations of the ordinary Ghanaian at heart.
We remember also well how the previous government, after imposing the inconvenient and income-sapping doomsday on households and businesses for 5 years, and insensitively increased electricity prices first by 89%, then by 10%, then by 78% and 20%, and finally by 59% between 2010 and 2015 alone. It took courage, Mr. Speaker, and care for President Akufo-Addo to do what no other government have been able to do before, which is a net reduction of electricity tariffs by 11% since 2017. Such is a higher level of care today, that today, nearly 4 years in office, electricity prices for Ghanaians, households and businesses all included, remain cheaper in both nominal and real terms than what they were before 2017. Mr. Speaker, the reason is simple. It is because we put the concerns and aspirations of the ordinary Ghanaian first. That is also why we further reduce electricity prices by half and completely provide portable water for free for everybody since March this year. And we will extend it for another 3 months. To break it down, Mr. Speaker, it takes a caring government of the people, and with that, I mean a government of all the people, to offer cost-free water to all across the country, representing all domestic and commercial customers in Ghana for 3 months. Mr. Speaker, it takes a caring government to be for the people and for business, large and small, to choose to subsidize electricity consumption by 50% to 4 million households and nearly 700,000 businesses at a cost of $1 billion in 3 months. And we will extend the coverage for Lifeline customers for another 3 months.
Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta also said government will, in the coming weeks, launch a 100 billion Ghana Cedi economic recovery program aimed at restoring Ghana's economy from the effect of COVID-19. Now, he describes the move as unprecedented 3.5 years program called the Ghana Coronavirus Alleviation Revitalization of Enterprises Support, Ghana Cares.
Mr. Speaker, the virus has laid bare our vulnerabilities as a world, as nations, as households, and as individuals. As at yesterday, Wednesday, 22nd July 2020, 622,725 persons had sadly succumbed to this virus, and 50,240,290 had been infected across the world. Mr. Speaker, even before we fully grasp the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak, our immediate concerns were on protecting lives and preserving livelihoods of our people. The President moved swiftly with a 100 million preparedness plan, which was prescient and laid the foundation to implement measures to save lives and safeguard economic activities by improving citizens' access to essential public services and helping businesses weather the downturn.
Away from the budget, the chairman of the governing New Patriotic Party, Freddie Blay, has objected to calls for disciplinary actions against the Member of Parliament for Ewutu Senya East, Hawa Kumson, over her involvement in the shooting incident at the Step to Christ Registration Center at Kaswa Monday. Mr. Blay mounted a strong defense in favor of the Special Development Minister, arguing Madam Kumson was rather a victim.
If you listened exactly, I believe you had reporters on the scene. And based on the report from your own reporters and some of our membership and independent bystanders of what took place at that place, there was a surge of people, some on motorbikes, and rushing at the MP who was going around to inspect what was going on, encourage people say you shouldn't have been there, and so forth. Encourage members of the party and the public, and even NDC people to patronize the registration exercise. And then before she was there were people surging around and on motorbike threatening. She felt threatened. It was a lady. The story that she's saying, which I have no reason to believe otherwise. And I felt very threatened. He was defending herself. And he didn't shoot at anybody. He fired a warning shot to keep people, to ward off the people who were coming too close. Some, I'm told, one of them used a motorbike to hit a car that was in it. That's what she says. That's what some people are saying. And check from your own reporters what took place. I think it's over-exaggerated. And people are...
It's exaggerated?
It's over-exaggerated.
Over-exaggerated?
That's what I'm saying.
I see.
Definitely. She has agreed that...
She has
admitted that he fired a warning shot. Take care for her word. And if you are talking about as if there was bullets all over, like there was a big fight between individuals and that's what or not, there haven't been any report, any casualties. But it's unfortunate if there was an array of bullets flying up and down, but I don't believe that's what happened. What it says is that people on bikes were threatening her and she felt her life was threatened, and that's what she did. It's unfortunate that such a situation took place, but thank God not any individual was assaulted or had any bullet.
I mean, her action disrupted the whole registration exercise.
I am not saying her action. Those who threatened her also should be blamed. Indeed, they should be more blamed for what happened. Where are they from? Are they going to register
MP is a victim in this?
He was a victim, definitely, in this instance. But be it as it shouldn't have been, the situation shouldn't have been created like that. In this country, you could imagine if you feel threatened, you are a woman, and you don't have people around you who could easily save the situation. You need to protect yourself. That's what I've been told, and I have no reason to believe otherwise.
Let's take you to the Ashanti region next. And successive governments have often resorted to initiating new developmental projects in election years. Now, many of such projects end up being abandoned, especially when the incumbent loses the elections. Even when it retains power, the pace of work usually slows, resulting in increased costs of the project and other negative implications to the general economy. These are concerns of the Amokumhene in Kumasi, Nanedu Mensah Sari, who finds it retrogressive a practice that must end. He wants government to complete all such projects it has started, including the rehabilitation of roads in its traditional area. Nana Sensu Mensah has more in this report.
Residents and road users have consistently complained about the state of roads in Kumasi and other parts of the Ashanti region. In some instances, some people have taken to social media to appeal to authorities to ensure roads are fixed. Work has commenced for reshaping of some inner city roads in the Kumasi, but Nana Adu Mensah Sari says Amokum is yet to be covered. The subjects are unhappy about the situation. The road is very bad. We always take our cars to the workshop as our daily sales are used to fix the car. We want the roads in Amokum to be fixed. As you see, the road is very bad. We want government to fix the road. As he has promised, 2020 is a year of roads. Nana Adu Mensah Sari is even more concerned about the problems in the society.
Well, we apologize for the loss of sound there. We'll deal with that technical challenge and try and bring you the story again. But moving on, a 26-year-old second-hand shoe dealer is in the grips of the police for abducting and defiling a 13-year-old girl at least for 3 days. Richard Nti also demanded and negotiated a 15,000 Ghana cedis ransom with the parents of the young girl for the release of the victim. Investigation so far by the police, however, rule out kidnapping because he had used no force in perpetrating the alleged crime. Ohemi Nteria of our security desk has been following the case and has come through with this report.
The teenage girl's parents alerted police of what they suspected to be kidnapping of their daughter at about 7 p.m. on Monday. Nti is said to have taken his victim to the Kwabre town of Dumanafo, about 20 kilometers from Bantama in Kumasi, from where he lured her using her own sister's phone. Police say he sexually abused the girl several times and demanded 15,000 Ghana cedis from the parents, who negotiated for 5,000 cedis for her release. ASP Godwin Ahianyo speaks for the Ashanti Regional Command.
20th of this month, around 7 p.m., the Regional Police Command received a complaint from the family of the said kidnapped 13-year-old, and that the suspects were demanding a ransom of 15,000 through the victim's phone. Then, on the next day, the person called again, asking for the ransom. So later on, the police or the family had to agree on 5,000, of which he also told the victim's parent that he is ready for the 5,000.
ASP Ahianyo says Nti later abandoned the victim at Santasi at about 3 a.m. on Wednesday. He was arrested following collaboration between police and some mobile network providers.
With the assistance of network provider, we were able to track and then know the identity of the suspect and the area the suspect was calling from. The suspect, realizing that his identity has been known, quickly went and abandoned the victim at Santasi area around 3 a.m. on Wednesday, 22nd. When the lady was questioned, she was able to mention the name of the suspects as Richard Nti, 26 years, a second-hand shoe seller. So the Mampontin police had to come in and then arrest him. We interrogated him, and he said he had telephone conversation through WhatsApp with the victim's sister's phone. It was true that he invited a girl and abducted her. When the victim came, she was interviewed, and she mentioned that she was defiled.
Despite the demand for payment of ransom, police say they cannot conclude it is a case of kidnapping. ASP Ahianyo says the victim has been issued with a medical form to seek care.
A medical form has been issued to the victim to go to hospital whilst we wait for the report and then continue with the investigation. The ransom wasn't paid, and so far as he is known to the suspect, and she agreed to follow the suspect to the said area that she was taken to. We see it as abduction and defilement, but not kidnapping.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Ohemi Nteria reporting.
Oh, we have to end the bulletin, but before we go, a philanthropic organization, Reach Out Medical Team, is aiming to support some 20,000 less privileged Ghanaians as the country continues to battle the spread of coronavirus. The organization, led by Dr. Frank Urinchi, has donated some COVID-19 preventive and safety items worth 200,000 Ghana cedis to 3 health facilities and 30 deprived communities in the Biakoya district of the Volta region. We'll bring you more in this report.
The items, which were procured with support from donors of the Reach Out medical team, included 65 sets of hand-washing station, 3,500 pieces of 200mm bottles of hand sanitizer, 120 gallons of liquid soap, 480 maxi tissue paper, 1,000 pieces of local face mask, 100 packets of medical examination gloves, and 480 1-liter bottles of hand sanitizer. Others are 150 pieces of facial protective shield, 15 pairs of white gun boots, 15 bottles of disinfectant, and 8 containers of chlorine powder. The rest are 65 pieces each of eye goggles and coveralls, and 65 packets of KN95 face masks. The director of the Reach Out medical team, Dr. Frank Urenchi, indicated the items will be distributed to 3 health facilities and 35 riverine communities.
Due to the traditional and cultural practices of the rural folks in Ghana, there is a need to make sure that some few items are given to health institutions and frontline workers battling to treat and stop the spread of the disease. We have therefore selected 3 major hospitals in Ghana, which are Eastern Regional Hospital, Koforidua in Eastern Region, Rara Government Hospital in Oti Region, and then Ifidiasi Government Hospital in Ashanti Region. And also 35 communities in the Biakuye district in the Oti Region to distribute items related to prevention and stopping the spread of COVID-19 worth over 200,000 Ghana cedis, some of which are displayed here for you to see. Reach Out medical team, with the help of its volunteers, intend to reach out to between 10,000 people in the Biakuye district of Oti region in Ghana, and also make distribution of hygienic products to Rara Government Hospital, Eastern Regional Hospital, Koforidua, Ifidiasi Government Hospital, thereby reaching out to over 20,000 people in general in Ghana.
The Biakuye District Chief Executive, Comfort Atta, who spoke on behalf of the beneficiary institutions and communities, appreciated the gesture by the Reach Out medical team.
So it is just good that these things are coming at this time. And I believe that from the 27th, that you'll be with us in Biakuye District, a lot more people will have some relief. So all I want to say is that we thank you so much, and I want everybody here, those who have it, to emulate the good example of Dr. and Mrs. Urenchi for the benefit of the less privileged in our societies.
Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News.
Well, that'll be it for the news, but I have to say a wonderful happy birthday to one of the great executives of the team right here at the Multimedia Group. Nana Elegba, it's your birthday today. You are the Chief Human Resource Officer of the group, and we say that, well, for all your contributions, and especially not only to the group, but the entire Ghanaian society, we say enjoy your day. And then also, Philip Butchie, you're celebrating your birthday today. You're a very good friend to my lead producer, Derek Ekosam. We also say have a great birthday as well. Raphael Osebunsu, you work with a big cocoa cooperative based in Ofinso. And I have to say Fine Flavor is the organization's name. Have a great day as well, my good friend. We're taking a break. We'll be right back with the latest. Invite him into the studio after 8. But before then, what I've done the newspapers, done the latest sports headlines, and also brought to you all that you need to know when it comes to the main discussion that we want to have today. And it's all about the fallout from the budget. What are some of the things that we think we need to carry on from that delivery by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, before Parliament on Thursday, which we carried live here on the channel. But Gifty and Rapia is also joining me. Gifty, how are you? Yeah, unmute, Gifty, unmute.
I have unmuted.
Okay, great. You hadn't, but I forgive you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. The internet is okay, but don't worry. I can hear you. So what?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, because I've unmuted.
Okay, okay. I know. You don't have to forcefully say it.
Where is Mama V?
Oh, she's right here. Mama V never went anywhere.
A day for ya.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
I know, right?
I'm here, I'm
right?
here. Okay, so Gifty's taking us through the Finder, Observer, Daily Dispatch, BNFT, and I have the daily graphic. So let me just quickly run through the daily graphic, which is a bit heavy today. Yeah. Okay, and then Gifty can come through. Front page of the daily graphic: government eases COVID-19 effects, income for laid-off workers, lower interest rates for businesses, free water, electricity for 3 more months, communications tax reduced. Good policies have restored hope, also according to the finance minister. So fallout, if you like, from the mid-year review in making the major stories in the daily graphic. Government to inject 100 billion Ghana cedis to rescue economy. Mid-year budget, another government's manifesto promise, according to the minority. Electoral Commission, compilation of new voters register 2020 movement plan. Phase 5 is in the inside pages. On the back page, 106 arrested over voter registration breaches. The police have arrested 106 people in connection with electoral breaches at various centers in the ongoing voters registration exercise across the country. The breaches generated 80 cases between June 30 and July 21, out of which the 106 suspects were arrested. Some 55 incidents are currently under investigations. 14 cases are already in courts. 8 suspects are yet to be identified. 2 cases have been settled, while 1 case has been closed because it was a false report. So, breakdown of what's been happening with the either violations or disturbances related to the ongoing registration exercise. Major overhaul of healthcare facilities in Western region set to begin. And the story written by our friend Kobla Akolobato in the Western region says healthcare facilities in the region are to undergo major rehabilitation along with the construction of new ones as part of the government's action to improve healthcare delivery across the country. The rest of the story, you've got to grab the paper and read. The Ghanaian Times, which is also as heavy. Front page, President orders Communications Minister to suspend directive to GBC to reduce channels on DTT platform. On COVID-19, Ghanaians to enjoy free water, electricity for 3 more months. Local government ministry takes second phase disinfection exercise to Bono region. 2020 mid-year budget review. Government unveils 100 billion Ghana cedis COVID-19 rescue package to get economy back on track. Back page, government requests additional 11.9 billion Ghana cedis to fund key initiatives for the year. And the National House of Chiefs headquarters gets facelifts. That will be it, really, for the headlines on the front back page, the Daily Graphic and the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Gifty, let's hear you.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the Finder newspaper. Of course, the Finder newspaper has a banner headline that's focusing on free water, electricity extended, CST cut to 5%, unemployment insurance scheme planned. That story is on page 2. That's the biggest story of the day from yesterday. And beneath that story, that story obviously comes with a picture of the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. And then beneath that, we have COVID-19 slows GDP growth to 0.9%. It's on page 8 of the newspaper. And 10,200 diagnosed with high blood pressure in Ghana. That's on page 4. Okay, and then there's also a story about presidential empowerment for male entrepreneurs with disability to be held today. That sounds exciting to me. And then 13.6 billion cedi revenue shortfall pushes deficit to 11.4% is on page 8. 100 billion to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on economy is on page 5. It's also from yesterday's budget review. So that's the front page of the Finder newspaper. Let's go through inside the newspaper before we get to the bottom of it. So inside the newspaper, you have stories like wearers of only face shields can't enter banks. President Akufo-Addo calls for suspension of GBC DTT directives, and 10,200 diagnosed with high blood pressure. That story is there. Mamavi, when you get the chance, kindly read the first paragraph for me of the story.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see how come we're all getting high blood pressure. Too much pressure for small money. Anyway, then you have details of the headline stories inside on page 5. 100 billion to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on the economy. Government revises 2020 GDP growth to 0.9% due to COVID-19. And then another story there we haven't seen yet. Local government ministry disinfects 96 markets in Western North region. The local government ministry uploaded for second disinfection exercise. Next page in the Finder newspaper. Okay, that's actually the back page of the Finder newspaper. 13.6 billion revenue shortfall. So it gives you the details of that headline story. And COVID-19 slows our GDP growth to 0.9%. WACOMP, Ghana, and the GSA organized training for SMEs of production of hand sanitizers. Looks like a business that's still booming. I want to take you to the Observer, the Ghanaian Observer newspaper. I'm done with the Finder. The Ghanaian Observer newspaper, banner headline, mid-year budget, goodies, days, NDC. Okay, sorry. Okay, the story is, I mean, I like the creativity that comes with the creation.
After the laughter, you have to explain yourself.
Yes, I know. It's just creative. Okay, so Finance Minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta there with the mid-year budget goodies dazing NDC. That story is on page 9 and 10. And then it gives you the details of why they are saying it is dazing the NDC. 100 billion cedis of Batampa program, reduction in talk tax from 9% to 5%, free water and electricity, 10.3 million for infected health personnel, et al. Okay, so that's the banner headline of the Ghanaian Observer newspaper. NPP are better custodians of the economy. That's according to EIU, being reported by the paper. And then local government ministry applauded for second disinfection exercise in markets. Beneath that, we have President Akufo-Addo stops minister over GBC DTT directive. It comes with a picture of Ursula Owusu-Ekufo, the communications minister, honorable member of parliament. An Airbus scandal built a good case for Mahama arrest, according to Martin Amidu. That's what the paper is reporting. I take you to the Dispatch newspaper from now or from there. So Dispatch newspaper, banner headlines, Ghanaians to enjoy another 3 months of free electricity and water. Actually, 3 months of water, 6 months of electricity. Finance Minister is, attributed. Well, they've attributed the story to Finance Minister. Akufo-Addo stops ministerial directive. Looks like these are the two biggest stories running on the front pages of our newspapers. Then deal with anyone engaged in political violence without fear. Catholic bishops to police. And highlight of the 2020 mid-year review budget statement, all in the Dispatch newspaper. So, okay. I did something to my page right now, so I'm a bit lost. Mama B,
yes, let's roll and continue.
What you have whilst I research my page.
Okay, so let me just straight away apprise you of what is on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. We have Nana unveils goodies. This one, I believe the editors slept together in the same room, so with the Observer. So goodies is here. Only this one, the absence of the words days, and then the acronym NDC is what is notable. 100 billion has appeared. It's also on the front page of the Ghanaian Observer. 100 billion Ghana cedi, free light and water. I was happy the announcement came, and then I got to know that apparently I don't fall in the threshold. the extra 3 months. If you are a kilowatt user of up to 50 per month, then you get to enjoy. So if you exceed that,
So just a certain category.
Yeah,
but even the water, some of
but
us,
I think that it will cover
from Ghana water. So when you talk about free water, I've never enjoyed free water.
Oh, okay, because of where you live.
Okay, we'll keep enjoying. Those of us.
Yeah, but I think it covers a majority of Ghanaians. That's the most important thing. Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry, you are no majority. Don't worry.
She's with the privileged few.
Give me cash. Give me cash.
Privileged few. So we do have 4 million euro Airbus scandal reveals gluttonous corruption, because there was a whole missive from the office of the special prosecutor penned by himself, Martin Amidu, veered into other related issues of touting and all. A ministry lauded for massive exercise. Akufo-Addo stops ESULA GBC order. Okay, when the Daily Guy puts it this way, then I know. Akufo-Addo stops ESULA GBC order. Okay, so they have what the plan is, phase 5 of the EC registration. I haven't registered. I'm told in my area today is the last day, so I need hurriedly to make sure that I'm captured today. Otherwise,
I've also not registered.
Yeah. So I have to go and register today, or otherwise I'm in trouble. So we have on the back page, it's all about sports. The Statesman says government offers more reliefs. Another 3 months of free water and electricity, and then 100 billion cedis to mitigate effect of COVID-19. 10 million Ghana cedis life insurance package for frontline workers. There was a disagreement as to who was a frontline worker at the beginning, and over time, I think everybody knows that everyone is a frontline worker in the health facility. But I don't know whether they have designated. I asked a health provider, and they said, look, they collected some names or came to write some names, but it looks like as the offerings are coming, it has not reflected that way. So I'm hoping that maybe in the coming weeks we'll hear more, some clarity on this. Mohammed's financial enslavement cost Ghana 21.6 billion Ghana cedis, 232 1D, 1F projects at various stages. Despite COVID-19, the finance minister did announce. On the back page is about Liverpool. That's the back page of the Statesman. Liverpool lifting their Premier League in the absence of nobody in the stadium except their families. But still, it was a good celebration nonetheless. Yeah, for those of us who don't support Liverpool, but we still feel that they deserve it. Yeah, congratulations to them. Have you recovered now from the stimulus goodies that dazed you? Please continue.
Yes, I have been undazed all of a sudden.
I can imagine. You look like your face is now clean.
I go back to the Dispatch newspaper. So the banner headline, like I said, Ghanaians will enjoy another 3 months of free electricity and water. And I did put in a bit of correction, 6 months for electricity, 3 months for water. And the back page of the Dispatch newspaper essentially gives us the details of headlines. So we have details of the highlights of the 2020 mid-year budget review statement, and then you have deal with anyone engaged in political violence according to the Catholic bishops. The details are on the back page of the Dispatch newspaper. My final newspaper will be the BNFT. And of course, the BNFT will give you a lot of statistics, figures, percentages. So 100 billion Ghana cedi package unveiled to revive economy. Introduces unemployment insurance, empower GCX NAFCO to boost food security, expand procurement of local goods and services. So essentially, those are the highlights of what the 100 billion is supposed to do. And I like the way the BNFT makes it readily available on the headline. Oforiatta requests 11.8 billion extra to run economy. Revenue shortfall hits 13.6 billion. Fiscal deficit to hit 11.4% of GDP, all on page 3. And then they have a story about the local government ministries nationwide disinfection exercise, and they're saying, of course, the front page comes with a picture of Ken Oforiatta, with his bag when he was going to Parliament. On top of the banner headline, you have President empowers disabled entrepreneurs today. Great story, I like it. And the Electoral Commission 2020 voters registration exercise movement plan phase 5 is also in that paper. Let's get through the papers to the bottom. So you have the details there and other stories that are not on the headline. Africa's confirmed COVID-19 cases exceed 750,000. Okay, that story is there in the Finder newspaper. Next page in that paper, okay, you have details of Oforiatta requesting 11 billion extra. Then you have 50 SMEs schooled on quality hand sanitizer production, also a great one. Finally, the back page of the BNFT, Builders Bazaar opens showroom. Okay, so officials of Built Environment visit Ghana Infectious Disease Center, Mamavi Owusu-Aboagye's, center. And that will be it for the BNFT as well.
Okay,
yeah, I'm
great.
done.
I want to spend just a little time on page 3 in the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and then also talk about something that they put together, which is what happened in Parliament. Not the goodies, if you like, but the other story in terms of Parliament itself, how it was half of the members, first come, first serve. If you came and the house was full, then you had to go to your office and watch on television, if you like. And then they also
Joy News, you mean?
Exactly. And then, of course, the cheers, the jeers, we didn't hear a lot of that. It was very orderly yesterday. So they put together a beautiful story on that. But on page 3, there's a story which says 4 churches in the Sunyani municipality of the Bono region have been shut down indefinitely for non-compliance with COVID-19 safety protocols and guidelines. The names, well, Victory Temple of New Page, Chapel International, Christ Disciple 7th Generation Ministries, Abesim Assemblies of God Church, and Harvesters Evangelistic Ministry. They actually pleaded with the task force to spare them. They didn't have an isolation room. They've been asked to comply with all the protocols. So this is just an update in terms of how we're committed to the fights against COVID-19 and how the churches are being washed over. I just, the thing is, it looks like when it comes to the church, we've got our eyes on the churches, and we're ensuring that they do the right thing. Have that same eye for the rest parties. Exactly. Every other place. There's also another story of 6 foreigners who allegedly attempted to register in the ongoing voter registration exercise in Kanishi Cripples Home Center. They've been arrested by the police. Their names have been given, and the police public relations officer of the Accra Regional Police confirmed the arrest to the Ghanaian Times in Accra yesterday. She said at about 10:30 a.m. the suspects believed to be foreigners were seen in the queue about to register at the Kanishi Cripples Home Registration Center. Some political agents at the center who suspected the people were non-Ghanaians arrested and handed them over to the police. So there's a lot more to that story. You can catch up. And then the Secondary High Court, too, on Wednesday imposed a total fine of 12,500 Ghana cedis on 5 elders for interfering in chieftaincy affairs of the Brimpong Yao Interior Royal family in the Efia Kwesiminti municipality of the Western region. Details of also that one. And then there's also court issuing arrest warrant for 2 hotel managers in the northern region. This is in Tamale. Details of that also in, this is for, they're actually not just 2, but they're amongst others who were, the accusation is that they stole electricity. The rest of it is in the paper that you can, you can look at. Guys, any other?
Well, I wanted to put some perspective on the matters or the reactions, especially of the opposition NDC, to the package that had been announced by government. I know it's a big deal, but the president did quote, the finance minister did quote Angela Merkel in that interaction that he had thereafter, but that main speech also saying that, look, it's not the time for you to be quoting the GDP deficits of the budget, etc. And I thought it depends on where we wanted to take a look at it. We're not the same countries as the European countries or the US or China and Japan or Korea. We also needed to put things into perspective. And so I believed that the conversation about whether we are now going to see increments in our debts being a problem in the medium to long term should be a conversation that we need to have variedly as a country. We don't need to hide away from it. And while we also need the packages, we also need to do that based on what we can afford and can't afford. A good thing is that we have 100 billion coming in the next 3.5 years. Where is it going to come from? And there was a question that Evans Mensah asked the Deputy Finance Minister, and he said it is going to be all clear in the next couple of weeks, and the media needed to also complement the conversation. And I thought that was a bit disappointing on that front, because we're in this together. So if we know this is the state, it's like a whole family income that a household has. You have at X%, and this is how much you can spend. Okay, this is how much you're also going to earn in the next couple of months or years. In COVID, we're talking COVID. But if you decide to extend the expenditure beyond whatever it is that you will earn, there should be a reason why you're extending it beyond what you can afford. And the markup, or let's say the deficit, where is it going to come from for you to offset what you're overspending? And I thought these are basic questions that they also needed to have some dispassionate conversation with us on it and give us right answers straight away when the questions are asked, so that nobody thinks that maybe it's because somebody wants to play NDC and MPP politics. There are real conversations that we need to have. At the end of the day, we're all taxpayers. Where's the money going to come from? These freebies that we're enjoying. We already have energy sector debts, and we're piling up more debts. We're enjoying freebies. The Ghanaian public is happy. But at the end of the day, the state of our economy, comparing it to Germany, is not the same. Their debt to GDP ratio, if you compare the UK, the US, etc., it's not the same. So, you know, but it is well.
So, well, yes, it is well to end that story, because
I picked it from you.
Yeah, I know, don't worry. I'm not charging you for that. It's for free. There is this sense of hopelessness that comes with repetition of the problems, because we don't really seem to find a solution to it. And I think that sometimes it's easier for some of us emotionally, you know, to ease the burden on our hearts, to just say that, look, politicians will always be politicians, and let's just appreciate the political dynamics that's involved in all of this. It makes it easier for us to bear. As journalists that sometimes, you know, highlights the problems and wants the solutions, it's just easier for us to bear. So politicians will always be politicians. So essentially what we're saying is that, yes, we're all happy, like you're saying, Roland. I'm happy that if I don't have to pay more for water, if I don't have to pay more for electricity, I'm happy. But at the end of the day, there is also this burden that we know this is going to put on the institutions. So the Electricity Company Limited and the Ghana Water Company Limited, the ECG and the Ghana Water Company Limited, we know that this is going to put pressure on them. They, as technocrats, may not be able to come out and say it as it is. But you and I know the pressures. We know that there was already an outstanding debt. And we don't know whether what they spent yesterday and what they spent previously on the freebies that were given have been paid already to them. We don't know. We know that Galamsey is impacting the production cost of Ghana Water Company. Have we dealt with all of those problems? Look, honestly, we will be happy. Me, I'm happy that I don't have to pay for water for 3 months. I don't have to pay for electricity if I'm using, you know, that amount. But at the end of the day, at what cost to our institutions? But we will not find the answers now. So politicians will always be politicians. And in an election year, what your typical politician in power is seeking to do essentially is to make everybody happy. So if that is what it will take to make people happy for them to vote for me, I will by all means do it. Fortunately or unfortunately, there is COVID-19, there is a pandemic. So you can always take advantage of that as a political party to give people freebies. And that is why the minority calls this a manifesto promises instead of a budget review. They see that you came out to just throw things at people to make them happy and to make them vote for you. But at the end of the day, politicians will be politicians. I don't think the NDC would do anything different if they were in that position.
Yeah,
I don't know.
True,
Just don't think.
Not that you don't know. They wouldn't have done anything different. at the end of the day.
Oh, well, maybe they would have said it in a different way. I don't know. We don't know. But we can experience and the history that we are aware of, that they won't do anything different. The focus will be to make the Ghanaian people happy. What you have, less than 6 months to an election. If you want, you don't have to pay for electricity if you're a lifeline consumer for 6 months. So whilst you're going to cast your ballot, you're not paying for electricity. If that's what will make you happy to vote for me, I would do that for you, even if it puts a lot of burden on the institution. So I think that that's where we are. Of course, these are not normal times. This is a pandemic. We're not used to this. We don't know this. So we see how the coming days will go.
Well said, guys.
Okay.
No, yeah, real quick. Let's hear it.
No, you don't have a chance.
I wanted to comment on the story that you read in the newspaper. And Mama B, I really like the way you went into the newspaper to bring up some of the stories that aren't necessarily related to the budget. What happened in Parliament exactly yesterday, because it will be in all of our faces. But the small stories which also make an impact. I like that you mentioned it. Then the fact that people were arrested at a registration center was something I wanted to comment on vis-a-vis what happened in Kaswa, which we're still looking into. I think that the vigilance that they showed there, where they arrested the people, and handed them over, I think that's something that we should encourage more at our registration centers rather than defending ourselves with gunshots.
Absolutely. Well spoken. We've got more headlines on myjoyonline.com. Gifty, thank you very much for helping us out this week with a review. Gifty's on the polls. Leave everything that you do from 3 p.m. and watch the polls with Gifty and Apia. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to say Nana Elegba. He is our
Chief HR.
Chief Human Resource Officer.
Yeah.
Today is his birthday.
We wish you
Elegba.
a happy birthday, Baba. Yeah, exactly. If it's your birthday, you haven't heard us mention your name. Enjoy your birthday today. Yeah. We're going to take, excuse me?
I wanted to mention more names celebrating, but it's okay.
We have to bring sports.
We have to bring sports, yeah.
Stay with us.
It's a Friday morning here on AM Show. My name is Benedict Osu. Preview Friday, big Friday, of course. We look ahead to what's going to happen in the English Premier League, top 4 race, and also we look at what's going to happen down there. Already, we know that Norwich have been relegated. Bournemouth on the verge of relegation. Can Aston Villa escape relegation? They're up against West Ham United. I'll tell you more about what to expect in the English Premier League. Also, Juventus last night, they lost away to Udinese by 2-1. By virtue of that, they would have to hold on to see if they can still nick another Scudetto title. But we have to start here on the local scene, and the Ghana Premier League clubs have resolved to accept a review COVID-19 disbursement formula from the Ghana Football Association. Now, the FA President Ketu Kruku led a delegation to meet the elite clubs and resolve differences since they announced a structure to disburse to members from a FIFA COVID-19 relief fund. There is more in this report.
The GFA Executive Council announced that each Premier League club would receive $15,000 from the CAF and FIFA COVID-19 Relief Fund. Many of the football clubs expressed dissatisfaction with the quantum handed to each member of the Ghana Football Association. They also raised issues with the decision of the football governing body to allocate $17,000 to the national team, the Black Stars, and other various sums to other male national teams. On Wednesday, the GFA president, his secretary general, and other members of the Executive Council held a meeting with the Premier League clubs. Patrick Akoto, who represented Mediama SC at the meeting yesterday, revealed to Joy Sports that the clubs have resolved to accept a reviewed disbursements to all members.
Let me put it on record that yesterday's marathon meeting gave us the opportunity to talk to the Executive Council. Don't forget that 5 members of our group were voted onto the powerful council. What it means is that they had to come and explain some of the nitty-gritties to members. President Ketu Kruku was there. He admitted that his outfit failed to do a wider consultation, on the relief disbursement formula, which has sparked, the higher level of brouhaha in the country. We went into the meeting with an open mind. We did not want to appear to be intransigent. We came to the conclusion that they have to go back and make some few alterations to the disbursement formula. Let nobody make any mistake about it. We have not accepted the current proposal in this state as is. We've asked the Executive Council to make few amendments to some of the gray areas that we had issues with. They will come back to us. However, the principal and key point is that whatever the outcome of the decision, the 18 Premier League clubs have resolved to accept it. And that's the bottom line.
Many have questioned the Ghana Football Association for their decision to allocate FIFA COVID relief fund to institutions that have not been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Patrick Akoto says the GFA apologized to the clubs, saying that they should have held a wider stakeholders consultation before arriving at the disbursement figures.
When you finish a group, there will obviously be divergent opinions. There will be those with the minority view and the majority view. As if it is done, the collective interest of the group, i.e. the majority view, reigns supreme. Whichever minority opinion you have must be put into the back burner. We were not bullied. Did not come and outbox us, outfox us, or outmatch us. No, we had our day. Is the reason why we came to a consensus that go back, come back to us. But in order for us to know that and out of good faith, we will accept every decision. We want to trust the Executive Council. We cannot continue to malign our own federation in the local media and expect that the manna will fall from heaven in terms of sponsorship. The court of public opinion is extremely important in the whole discussion. Very important. So we have resolved, and it's one of the things that we talked about at the meeting, that we have to be extremely, extremely careful not to use the media as a tool of expressing our grievances. Because the media do not offer solutions. The solutions will be given to you at meetings. But admittedly, on this specific case of the COVID relief fund, the GFA itself admits that it could have done better with a consultation. Because clearly, many people jumped onto the media bandwagon and made a lot of comments and statements born out of what was generated in the media. Because at that time, the clubs had not been consulted well enough. And when I say clubs have not been consulted well enough, I'm talking in specific reference in relation to the Premier League clubs.
The GFA Executive Council is expected to convene again and review the current figures allocated to each member of the football governing body in the West African country.
Amazing story of Jennifer Kujo, who plays for Sky Blue FC in the National Women's League in the US. Unfortunately, her team lost last night in that competition, and by virtue of that, they are out of the competition. Well, let's still stay with Ghanaian players. And Spanish top flight side Granada have signed talented youngster Mubarak Alassane from Liberty Professionals for an undisclosed fee. Now, the deal was finalized yesterday, with the 18-year-old signing a 5-year contract.
Very, very important. I think this is the best time in my career to work even more harder, because I think everyone will wish for this opportunity to be given. So I think me having this one, I think I have to work even more harder, more sacrifices too, because I think this one will help me the best way for this. I think since even when I was at my early age, I was thinking I have to play for Barcelona and then teams in Spain, because I do really see myself as Iniesta type of playing, and I was given that name too. So I think playing over there and then my style of play, especially what I learned in Wafa and then what our coach taught me in Liberty too, I think it will help me more going there. I think Spain is the best place for me as now.
So there was a lot that was announced by the finance minister, but notable among all the things that were said were how these stimulus packages, as announced, would ultimately get to the beneficiaries. And already we do know that government from March this year had gone to Parliament and sought some reliefs. Well, we've had some beneficiaries, haven't we? The health workers have been enjoying their 50% rebate or excess based on their basics or their earnings for the month. And of course, it hasn't started trickling in fully yet. They have met generally with the Ghana Health Service, their unionized associations, and then categorize themselves as to who will be determined to be a frontline worker and who is expected to benefit. For us, electricity and water, the rebates also have been on. It is the extension that has overwhelmingly been received. We also do know that the CST, that's a communication service tax, initially at the last count, when the budget was announced in November, increased from 6 to 9%. And now it's been reduced to 5%. Also great relief as well. And the explanation is because we are using a lot more of data or internet services and telephony services. That would mean that more burden as far as payment of bills related to telecom, its usage, the derivatives, the service line will definitely be affecting ordinary individuals. But we need to speak broadly about what has been announced, how the key academics in our country also will tease out the issues and what they make of the content based on what the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, said in Parliament. Well, now let's bring you an insight, but when we come back, we'll also tell you what our main discussants are. Dr. Patrick, assuming is with the University of Ghana Business School. He's an economist. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning to our viewers, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, and thank you also for joining me as well. We'll also be joined by Dr. Ebu Texan, who also is an economist with the University of Ghana, the Economics Department, and also works with ISE broadly as well. So it's a conversation of the state of our economy and moving forward, how we hope to navigate the next 2 quarters of the year. Now, let's tease out some of the comments of the Finance Minister when he was addressing Parliament on Thursday.
Remember also well how the previous government, after imposing the inconvenient and income-sapping doomsday on businesses for 5 years, and insensitively increased electricity prices first by 89%, then by 10%, then by 78% and 20%, and finally by 59% between 2010 and 2015 alone. It took courage, Mr. Speaker, and care for President Akufo-Addo to do what no other government have been able to do before, which is a net reduction of electricity tariffs by 11% since 2017. Such is a higher level of care today, that today, nearly 4 years in office, electricity prices for Ghanaians, households and businesses all included, remain cheap both nominal and real terms than what they were before 2017. Mr. Speaker, the reason is simple. It is because we put the concerns and aspirations of the ordinary Ghanaian first. That is also why we further reduce electricity prices by half and completely provide portable water for free for everybody since March this year. And we will extend it for another 3 months. To break it down, Mr. Speaker, it takes a caring government of the people, and with that, I mean a government of all the people, to offer cost-free water to all across the country, representing all domestic and commercial customers in Ghana for 3 months. Mr. Speaker, it takes a caring government to be for the people and for business, large and small, to choose to subsidize electricity consumption by 50% to 4 million households and nearly 700,000 businesses at a cost of $1 billion in 3 months, and we will extend the coverage for Lifeline customers for another 3 months. The virus has laid bare our vulnerabilities as a world, as nations, as households, and as individuals. As at yesterday, Wednesday, 22nd July 2020, 622,720 persons had sadly succumbed to this virus, and 50,240,290 had been infected across the world. Mr. Speaker, even before we fully grasp the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak, our immediate concerns were on protecting lives and preserving livelihoods of our people. The President moved swiftly with a $100 million preparedness plan, which was prescient and laid the foundation to implement measures to save lives and safeguard economic activities by improving citizens' access to essential public services and helping businesses weather the downturn. Mr. Speaker, this has also brought to the fore the structural gaps in our health delivery system. That is why, with urgency, we have already begun to mount an effective, coordinated, and sustainable response to the health needs of the people. Under the Agenda 111, previously Agenda 88 initiative of His Excellency the President for hospitals, we will design, build, equip, and staff new hospitals in every district without one, and a new regional hospital in every region with none. This demonstrates government's commitment to protect the lives of Ghanaians. The President has declared that all the district hospitals will be designed and built by Ghanaians, built companies, the foundation for the launch of the nationwide housing program, God willing, in his second term. Mr. Speaker, we must not and will not be daunted by this extraordinary crisis. Government will continue to do what it has to do to protect lives and support livelihoods through compassionate, competent, and courageous leadership. We have accepted that this pandemic and its effects are unparalleled in the annals of our country and indeed globally. We have accepted that until a vaccine is found, we have no choice to rearrange our lifestyle in order to protect lives and promote livelihoods. It requires a marshalling of unprecedented resources to contend with the pandemic and its effects on Ghanaians. And Mr. Speaker, this government is up to this task. Mr. Speaker, the predicted long-lasting effect of this pandemic amid systemic shifts and uncertainties suggests 2020 and beyond will be very challenging. Ghana will therefore need the continuity of courageous, compassionate, and competent government with a well-crafted program to protect the lives of Ghanaians, safeguard jobs, and support to sustain operations during this period, and especially in the 4 years ahead. We have proven over and over again that we are better managers of the economy. Together, once again, we will optimize the opportunities presented by this pandemic and build a sustainable future for Ghanaians. In the now famous words of President Akufo-Addo, we know how to bring the economy back to life. Mr. Speaker, I'm presenting updates and progress in implementing the 2020 budget and highlighting the significant impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. I also outlined today the resolute steps being taken to get our economy back on track. In his May address to the nation, the President charged the Minister of Finance to design Ghana's recovery program. Mr. Speaker, we wish to take this opportunity to announce to the people of Ghana that the President and his team have done a lot of thinking since March. We have brainstormed over the crisis with a view of using the challenges it presents rather as an opportunity to transform Ghana, and for all Ghanaians.
And joining us, as we already indicated, Dr. Patrick Asuming, economist with the University of Ghana Business School, and then Dr. Ebu Texan also joining us as well. All of you, good morning. Dr. Texan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Raymond, and good morning to your viewers.
Well, great. And I've already said that to, and all the appellations to Dr. Asuming already. But if in one sentence you have to describe what the finance minister said yesterday by way of that address, Dr. Texan, what would it be? You first, yes.
Yes, thank you. Good morning once again to your viewers. The budget review yesterday was expected, given that the pandemic had dealt a very severe blow to our finances. And, if you ask me to summarize, I'll say that it's a good budget that the government has come up. At least it's a budget that is seeking to minimize the impact of the budget on Ghanaians, both businesses and households, and also to try as much as possible to recover the economy as that is possible. So it's a good budget, and most of the things that were said by the government through the Minister of Finance were expected. And so we hope that the economy will be able to recover as soon as possible.
What about you, Dr. Esuming?
I agree with what my senior colleague has said. I would say it was pragmatic and quite realistic. Given the circumstances of the time, we need to tackle the economy head-on after the devastation that has been caused by the pandemic. So I would say it was pragmatic.
Dr. Texon, one key demographic that was captured by the government or the finance minister to be targeted, particularly for the stimulus, are the startups or the small to medium scale enterprises. In America, the statistics are always available, so you can always make such references and say that that is great indication. They form about 51% of U.S. firms and their contribution to the economy. What we don't have is data for which we can then correlate the stimulus packages with the sort of startups that we have in our country.
We have data, we have some that the Ghana Statistical Service normally collects under the Integrated Business Establishment Survey. And we are looking at close to about 400,000 of such firms. So we have data. Of course, not all firms are normally captured in the census of enterprises, but we have data. And compared to the US, which is a more formalized economy, the unfortunate thing about ours is that most of our enterprises, especially the micro ones, are unregistered, and at times they are not captured in some of these census. And so if we need to support, and it's not going to be able to get everybody on board. That is why those of us who train small enterprises make it a point to let them know that even if your business is not registered, you should make sure that you are under the umbrella of the business association that you belong, so that anytime things like this happen and there's the need to look at the number of firms involved for the support, at least you are captured. But definitely there is some data that the government can use for any support that it wants to give.
Now, Dr. Esuming, the impact of, let's say, 100 billion Ghana cedi funding opportunity for businesses, whether it's 70% private funded and 30% of that coming from the states, will eventually go to revive these businesses. How do we peg their contribution based on what they would have received to the after 3.5 years when this program has spanned?
So I think it's well known that small and medium enterprises form the bulk of businesses in this country. Their contribution is quite substantial. To employment is in the order of about 80%, especially if you look at the informal sector. And to GDP, it's also quite high. More than half of our GDP comes from that sector. So their contribution is quite substantial, and targeting them is very important because we know that a lot of them have been decimated by the crisis. The question is, I think the question what we always struggle with is exactly how to target them and to make sure that the kind of support we are giving is one that will ensure that they become sustainable, and over the long term, there's some path towards formalization. I think, as my colleague has said, a big chunk is, a big part of the problem is a lot of them are in the informal sector. So it's very difficult to them and target them. In a sense, this crisis gives us an opportunity because the support that is being given, we notice that at the moment is going through the NBSSI. And it appears that because of the support, a lot of them are being forced to formalize by way of registering with the Registrar General Department, so which is a path to formalization. So in a sense, we have a very big opportunity to ensure that a big chunk or a sector that contributes substantially to the economy is receiving sufficient support going forward. The key questions remain exactly, whether the sort of interventions we are giving is exactly what they need. And broadly, also addressing their challenges on a wider scale, not just targeted loans. Because beyond the issue about credit, SMEs in this country face a myriad of problems. And I think it's important that we just don't focus only on the loan aspect and the funding aspect, but address broad-based challenges that the economy faces.
Dr. Texon, one key aspect of such measurement or creating the needed benchmarks is to make sure we strengthen the ability to put in place systems that will enable them to have some good returns on the investment by way of the output. And then they can plow back or pay back whatever it is that they collect by way of stimulus. What sort of support should we be comparatively be giving them at the same time while we're doling out these stimulus packages to them?
Okay, so before that, let me say that the support shouldn't go to every firm. I mean, this is support that hopefully once it's being paid back, others will also benefit. I think that initial focus should be on small and medium enterprises that offer quite a sizable number of jobs, and for which currently, as we speak, there is the demand for what they produce. Because you don't have to go and support a firm that does not offer a lot of employment, that has no demand for what is being produced now. Otherwise, whatever support is given to them will go directly into paying wages of workers who are not productive. And so, and those businesses will not be able to recover to repay. So the focus should be looking at the profile of these companies and make sure that they're only supported because currently there's the demand for what you are producing, and you offer quite a sizable number of jobs. So we keep those people in their jobs and then able to produce, there's demand for it, you sell, you get back the money, and then you pay. I think that in giving the support, like the question that you asked, I mean, we need to let and most of these businesses are informal businesses that are run from the purse or the pocket of the owner. And we need to make sure that the support that is being given to the businesses are going to go directly to production. It's not going to go into funding their personal expenditures. Because there are situations where when businessmen go for loans, before they even begin to produce, they would have started spending on out of their profit before even the production or the sales take place. We need to conscientize these businesses that, look, you offer employment. What they are producing is in demand. We expect this support to go into direct production so that you can sell, your workers will earn income, because that is the support. That is why we are giving you the support. So I think that in NBSSI, because they have been dealing with these funds over a long time, we'll be able to look at the applications critically and find out those businesses that have opportunities. And don't forget that, and so far as there are new opportunities that are coming up now, the production of PPEs and other services that are coming up post-COVID, we need to support them because those are the sectors that will offer employment. And to also let labor know that this is the time that you need to find out if you can be useful in other sectors, because definitely other sectors are having a greater opportunity now than they had before. And so we need to make sure that the money that goes to these firms are monies that will be paid back as soon as possible so that it can be given to other firms as well. I mean, if you take the fact that we have close to 400,000 micro, small enterprises, and it might even be higher than that, and you are talking about 700 million Ghana cedis, that is woefully inadequate. So there's to be some rationing, and it should be done very efficiently. And businesses that normally pay taxes should be the focus, because after all, this support is coming from government purse, and government purse is funded by taxes. So, I mean, if you've not been paying tax formally, I'm not too sure the focus should be on you now. Let us give back to those who pay taxes, those who offer employment are more formalized in the informal sector. I think that will help out. Otherwise, the money will go down the drain and the business will not be able to pay back.
Yeah, and Dr. Sumi, I asked this question because during the first half of this whole package and incentive to give to businesses, we now needed to collect data from hairdressers and then even barbers, etc. And indeed, I have friends and people who have been giving are on the way of receiving some dole out, so to speak. If there's 100 billion, ultimately, the mindset is that I should be benefiting.
Well, I think, just to reiterate the point that my senior colleague has made, it's if you spread the 100 billion across all the firms, it's simply not going to be enough. And it shouldn't be that this is free money that is available and that people will simply get. And, they won't be paying back. We've had the challenge of having previous similar government funds that have been set up because it's administered, or because people see it as government funds. When they receive it, either there's not sufficient attempt to recover, or they are simply not willing to pay back and nothing really happens. So it's important that it's well targeted. So my colleague has already mentioned that it has to be those who are paying taxes, but there has to be a mechanism to ensure that we have a criteria. So if we say, if you get this support for, say, the next 3 months, we don't expect that you'll be firing your workers, because we cannot be giving public sector funds. We cannot be giving taxpayers' money to businesses and work them fired. One of the key reasons why we are giving this support is so that we prop up viable businesses so that they can keep going along while the crisis is ongoing. And therefore, they will not fire workers and bring aggregate demand in the economy down. So in addition to ensuring that we are targeting the businesses that are viable, through which we know that when we support them, they will be able to generate some sufficient output. We also need to ensure that whatever criteria we are using to give out the funds, there's some strict monitoring. I think that is why some are a little bit concerned that it's going through the state or government agency. The fear that when you go that route, that kind of monitoring that you need to ensure that the funds go around. So we want those who receive the first round be able to pay back so that others might also get it. So announcing the fund is good. The practical matter about exactly how we are going to ensure that it's getting to the right businesses and that they are paying back, I think that's where the challenge will be.
Okay, now let's
can I add to what Patrick said? I think that the focus of this should be for firms that have demand for what they produce now. Very important, because if there's the demand for what they produce now, and they need the support to expand their production, even maintain their production pre-COVID. They are going to be able to keep their workers to produce. And because there's a demand for what they are producing now, it will be easier for them to sell and get back the money and be able to pay back, to sustain their businesses as we move. And so it's very important that criteria is set as soon as possible, so that firms, businesses should know that this is not free money that is being given to them. Like Patrick said, if you are firing your workers, you don't need the support. We're only giving it to you because we want you to keep your workers working. We are giving it to you because there's a demand for what you produce. We are giving it to you because we need the money back as soon as possible to help other firms, because they are. And if you talk about the 100 billion that is going to set up from 2021 to 2023, that is still not enough money. But I mean, it's good money, and it has to be given to the right sectors and the right businesses, so that we can see an expansion of output, because we need output. Don't forget that small, medium enterprises contribute close to about 80% of our GDP. And therefore, if we get them producing, we can recover our economy as soon as possible. And in these times that trade has dropped, we need these small enterprises, businesses to produce so that it can support demand, consumption, because these days imports are not coming in. We need to produce to substitute those imports. And so it's quite critical that whichever institution is going to be doling out this investment support package to do it very well. And I will stress that it should be given to businesses that have accounts at the banks, because the banks are very good at monitoring support to small enterprises, so that they can be able to tell that this is a company that has a banking history. This is a company that has been making deposits over the years, and therefore it's a company that is worth supporting. We shouldn't just be doling out the money. Otherwise, I'm sorry, to one of those interventions that the money's never come back, and taxpayers' money go down the drain.
And because we've had many of such funding opportunities or schemes that just seem to always needed to be recapitalized over time, because we've had some bad debts or bad loans given out ultimately. Now, there's an aspect of the packages that the ordinary Ghanaian seems to be enjoying, and that greatly is the energy sector, because we have rebates of 50% for consumers. Now, we're even told that those who are under the cap of a kilowatt of 50 every month, their lifeline categories will be enjoying this. But we also do know on the other side, we have a 2.2 billion Ghana cedi or dollar energy sector debt. And we know there's the commitment for government to be able to pay these utility companies directly. We offset these. How do we synchronize this, knowing that there's a debt that is ahead, but we're enjoying some relief today? And when we get there, we need to make sure that when we're supposed to pay, we have what it is that we have to give to Caesar. Let me start with you, Dr. Texon, on this.
Yes, Raymond, the government already supports the lifeline consumers of electricity with a subsidy, even before the pandemic. And in this year's budget, that was a line item in government expenditure to support lifeline with subsidy. And now they are going to have the total subsidy in terms of not paying anything.
Exactly.
And for other households, we are also going to enjoy water of charge. Of course, these are unplanned expenditures on government, and it's part of the reason why government expenditure has increased, and they are asking for support to try to meet those expenditures. Yes, the energy sector is ridden with debts that we are trying to pay out. And in every year's budget, there's an amount that comes out of the energy sector levy to try to pay that debt. But in these current circumstances, we shouldn't look at our debt and get so scared. Households need support. Businesses need support. I mean, if you take the hospitality industry, especially accommodation, which is hotels, I mean, these are sectors that pay taxes. They are more formalized, they pay taxes. But they are having a sharp decline in their services, demand for their services. And therefore, they are finding it very hard to cope. This is a time that government can take up some of their basic expenditures like water and electricity, so that they can keep some of their workers at work. Don't forget that they cannot shut down the hotel totally. If you take a hotel like Labadi Beach and other big hotels, it cannot be shut down. They need to maintain the facilities. Lines should be on work. Some support staff will be there to maintain the facility, all of that. And at times, for some of these hotels, even putting off their electricity is a big deal because their rooms get stuffy and all of that. So to maintain the infrastructure of these businesses, which is very required because post-COVID, they will be in operation, they'll pay taxes. Government needs to extend that support, possibly for electricity, to some of these sectors that need the support. So it is not a time that we need to be too concerned about our energy sector debts, which is a legacy debt that is being paid. And it's not a fault of any government. It's the fact that over the years, we have not been able to build our energy in such a way that we will not go into the crisis that we went into in the last 4 years. So it's not a fault of any government, but it's government of Ghana that has to pay that debt. But yes, in the interim, as the pandemic pans out, we need to support each other, especially for water, because you know water is one of the critical utilities that average households need to be able to insulate themselves from the pandemic, because you need to constantly wash your hands and all of that. And for those households that normally buy water, water is a scarce commodity. And if you are not very careful and you don't give them free water for them to be able to abide by the COVID safety protocols, we are going to have an increase in infection. So it's a good thing that the government is doing. But Raymond, this is not a time that we need to talk about the debt and so on and so forth. We need to look beyond and see how we are going to recover the economy as soon as possible. Thereafter, we'll think about how we are going to deal with these debts.
Right, and ask Dr. Sumin some questions as we also tend to wrap up. So, and in the announcement yesterday, Dr. Sumin, just hold on. In the announcement yesterday, there were a number of interventions that the government again refocused on. They talked about what they had made by way of the dire economic situation, and they said the economy was in dire straits. And then we talked also about the implementation of the free SHS and its expenditure for the 1.2 million students, and the investment that had been made in young adults through NAPCO, and definitely agriculture had also received a lot of support over the period. Now, we do have all these investments taking place. And these investments definitely would mean that a lot of capital that will be going off. Now, the expectation is that while we don't want to talk about debt, we don't want to talk about how much we're spending within this period because we're in difficult circumstances. We definitely will come and meet them in a year or 2 or 3, 4 years' time. Dr. Sumin, they are on our books, whether they are public debts or they are debts that greatly relate to the GDP that we have. How do we offset them over time based on the investments that we're making in the key sectors that we have and have been announced, Dr. Sumin?
Okay, so we have to worry about that, but this is not the time to start worrying about that. See, when you talk about debt, debt is not necessarily a bad thing. What you think about is whether whatever you are acquiring the debt for is going to generate sufficient cash flows in future to repay the debt. If a business has acquired loans and has debt, it is fine as long as what it is using the loan for is going to generate sufficient income going forward and cash flow that will allow it to service the debt so that over the long term, it becomes a bigger business. So at the moment, given the circumstances that we are in, we know the jobs and a lot of economic activity come to a halt. So we should necessarily expect that government revenue is going to come down. And this is not the time for the government to cut its spending with the view to trying to resolve the debt. Even the countries that are usually seen as debt hawks have said that this is not the time to talk about debt or the deficit. It doesn't mean also that we should just free hand to spend and acquire debt. We have to interrogate what is being committed to and whether what we are committing to is going to generate sufficient growth in the near future to help us to offset the debt. The programs that the government had already committed to, like the free SHS that you have mentioned, it's, we can't really say because of the crisis, we are going to roll back, whatever our position is on the free SHS, whether we thought that it should have started in the first place or not. Once we have the free SHS program and a crisis hit, this is not the time for us to say we are in a crisis, therefore we are going to cut back on expenditure on free SHS. What the government should be doing, and to some extent is doing that, is to ensure that we make new commitments or we provide new interventions to support the economy in such a way that we go through this crisis and we come out of it stronger. Now, obviously, it's being communicated by the president, and also the finance minister said it, that the crisis is an opportunity to restructure the economy to a more sustainable path. Our dependence on import has now, has become a major problem now because of the disruption in the global trade. There are some essential things that we can't acquire, but down therein lies the opportunity to try and then restructure the economy so that we produce some essential things that we need ourselves. When we do that, by the time we are out of this crisis, we will be on a different path and we'll be much more ready to deal with a future crisis. So it is why we cannot go back and reduce what we are spending on free or the other programs that are committed to. The additional things that we should be doing should be things that will bring substantial changes in the economy, such that going forward, we are going to generate enough production, we are going to generate enough tax revenue. And to some extent, I think a few of the things that I wish we had done in the budget is a little bit more on the revenue side going forward. The finance minister has said that we want to increase the share of tax revenue as a ratio of GDP from 13% to 20% in 3 years, that is in 2013. Unfortunately, we did not see enough detail in terms of exactly how we are going to do that, in terms of measures to expand the tax base, to bring in more taxpayers. There were a few measures that have been mentioned, but those are to plug loopholes, including, electronic monitoring of oil production. But even if those measures are very successful, I mean, oil revenues is just still under 10% of overall revenue.
Yeah, but Dr.
The general issue about broadening our tax base has not been sufficiently dealt with. I wish that we have seen more measures in that area.
But Dr. Sumim, we do know that a lot is going on. The National Identification Authority becomes a critical aspect of creating the database for us to be able to achieve that. So that is an ongoing related policy intervention that is being done to achieve that objective. But I know that the others that could have been spelled way better for us to get some clarity on how we broaden the tax. It's a key conversation we've been having for decades, I believe, but we're hoping that how can we use this period as we wrap up this conversation, Dr. Ebo Texon, to shore up some of the key sectors that we have. If you look at what the statistics are, it's the services sector that has been at the forefront of growth. But we also do know what we need is industry being fed through agriculture and the relevant sectors to get the needed growth. How do we take advantage of this period to say post-COVID, this is what we've been able to achieve in those two sectors, agriculture and industry?
Okay, Roland, thank you. Just before that, I have a slight different perception about this FSHS thing from what my colleague said. I should think that in these times that we have to do with the COVID and others, the universities have come to the end of the academic year, almost granted to the end of the academic year. We have final year students at the SHS going to school to write the exams. I think that for the rest of the year, if we can, let us hold on with academic education for now, so that whatever cost that we incur in education sector, I know for the public sector, teachers will still be paid, but whatever other expenditures that we incur, that could go into other sectors of the economy to build the resilience of the economy. Because for me, I'm more concerned about production than any other thing. I mean, if we've gone beyond this pandemic, academic work can resume. That will give government some freedom from education expenditure to go into direct production, because that is what we need. Because as we speak, we don't have enough PPEs. We don't have, we've not built our school system in such a way that we can go on with academic work. If we take the secondary school, going on with academic work would mean a change in so many infrastructure that we have in the schools, and that is not something that we have money to do now. So if I would advise government, I ask that let's hold on with the next beginning of the next academic year and see how this pandemic pans out to the end of the year. Now to come back to your question, yes, industry has to pick up, and I'm excited that the government has plans to invest about 100 billion in the next year to the next 3 years in the industrial sector. What is important that we need to do is that we need to begin to look at producing for domestic consumption, because as we speak, there is no doubt that the pandemic will alter the value chain in terms of production. Countries are now going to look inward to try to produce what they need. And if you look at the fact that even in terms of the PPEs, now countries are producing for their domestic use without considering whether they want to export or not. So we need, as much as possible, to set up our industrial sector in such a 1D1F that we started, support to go to other existing firms that are already there to begin to produce the import substitutes, so that we will not be found wanting as countries use their exports and produce for their own domestic consumption. And definitely in a country like Ghana, the agricultural sector will have to support our industrial sector. We cannot make the mistakes that we made when Nkrumah started the import substitution neutralization after independence, and we failed to make agriculture try to support. And this is the time that we need to get agriculture, and it's likely part of the government flagship programs to planting for food and jobs and rearing for food and jobs are critical policy interventions that we need the government to continue to concentrate on. Because over the years, as we started this, we've seen agriculture pick up, and which is a good sign. If the 1D1F is successful, other businesses are supported to look at producing for domestic consumption. And if, for instance, South Africa is no longer producing a lot of fruit juices to export to other parts of the world, and for which Ghana also imports a lot from, we can equip our domestic friends to produce our fruit juices here for us to consume. So definitely start looking inward, and we should make note that the global value chain is not going to be business as usual before the pandemic. It's going to change, even if we go beyond the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's offering opportunities for us as a country to take a second look at agriculture industrialization, because if kindly, the contribution of the service sector to GDP is not something that we should have expected.
Okay.
We have expected agriculture industry to move the economy before we get to services doing that. At this stage of our development, services should not be the main contributor to GDP. It should be agri industry before services. So it's a good time for us to really look at our development path and how we are going to get there. And we should at times see the COVID as a blessing in disguise, because it's going to let us rethink about a lot of things and change our productive base to get our economy to be on the right track to whatever development objectives that we have. So quite clearly, definitely, that 100 billion support is needed. I only hope that the 70 billion that is expected from the private sector will come up, and for us to support businesses that are local and businesses that are going to produce for our domestic consumption. And also to get agriculture to do very well. So it's good now, but let's see what happens in the next 3 years in terms of that investment in our industrial sector and agriculture, how that is going to pan out.
Well, thank you very much. It's something that I guess Adam Smith will agree with you. Of course, they'll have some objections from Ricardo and then Heckscher. But look, let's see how it goes. The proponents of absolute advantism and then what you can do with what you have great capacity to be able to develop. But look, thank you very much, Dr. Ebo Texon. You're an economist with the Economic Department of the University of Ghana, Senior One, and also with my alma mater, the Economic Department, Finance, and doing great work, University of Ghana Business School. Dr. Patrick Asuming, we say thank you very much for your great contributions and insightful suggestions this morning. But it's where we also take you to that private sector-led Project 100 officially opening today. Now let's bring you the story so far as told by the Project 100 team.
Our first project in the lockdown was to feed a KIO project, and with that we're able to feed over 150,000 people over a 10-day period, 10,000 people in Accra and 5,000 people in Kumasi on a daily basis for more than 10 days. Then after that, we decided to look at how we could support the front line. So we sourced and donated PPEs to Ga East municipality facilities. We began to look at how best can we support the pandemic. And initially, I must confess, we're thinking of temporary hospital. I think we were very lucky to have with us who's the General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, and that Ghana needed a permanent infectious disease treatment center. And initially it seemed like an outrageous idea, because we all thought we're just going to put some tents together and increase the bed facility in case. And Justice kept on emphasizing this. We came to the conclusion, and I'm overwhelmed with the response we got from the built environment professionals, the Ghana Institute of Surveyors, Ghana Institute of Architects, Ghana Institute of Engineers. It's unbelievable to see Ghanaian professionals work together for Mother Ghana pro bono, that is for free. Within a week, they had designed and put together all the drawings for the hospital, and they worked 24/7. Some are leaving in the evening, a different shift is coming in, because we needed to get the drawings out as quickly as possible, very professionally done, so that we could cost it and go from there. Prior to that, the Minister of Health had allocated the site to us, the site at the Ga East Municipality Hospital for the project. So then we had to find contractors. The Ghana Armed Forces offered to help, and they brought in a team to project manage, supervise, and also hands to help with the construction. We appointed Mendaha and Souza and many other professionals, and the rest is history. 10 weeks later, we have a fully equipped hospital ready for use. 100-bed hospital facility with a 20-bed intensive care unit facility with a first-class laboratory with its own morgue, with its own backup generator and systems, and so many facilities that we've been able to put together here. And we cannot but to say a very big thank you to all who have been involved to make this a reality. It shows what we can do together as Ghanaians, that we can come together, work together, and deliver world-class results, devoid of politics, devoid of tribe, devoid of anything, and just focus on professional Ghanaians coming together, working together, and also to our thousands of donors. We're looking forward to the commissioning of the Infectious Disease and Treatment Center this Friday, the 24th of July, and after which we will hand over to Health.
Well, we told you that this is what it is, and it is the, well, inauguration today, because the sword cutting was long. Mama V is a great ambassador of this, and we do know that apart from all the personalities you see in there, Senor Jose had been leading the coordination, leading the team, making sure we bring all this together, and it's all coming to a head today. Well, we're going to have a conversation. After that, we have Adam, go get him. Also in the studio, he has an EP. An EP is usually what they call a 4 to 6 track kind of package or album. Yeah, not really like an LP. And he has a new one out. It's been premiering, I've seen on his YouTube page. So we'll have Go Get Him, Adam, right here in the studio. Promises to be exciting. But I do have Kafui Prebi. He is with Technoid, and they have a great that is making rounds lately. They've been in business over, they call it Asanka. Now, look, Asanka, before we even came on air, appeals to me. What really is the value proposition? How does it appeal to anybody at all?
Okay, thank you very much, Roland, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy to work with you. The Asanka device is a Wi-Fi enabled device that allows for content to be accessed freely, either using a phone, a laptop, or a tablet. And so if you put the Asanka on, just by connecting it to any simple device, it comes on with the power, it gives you Wi-Fi access, and then somebody can just connect and access the content for free.
Okay. So this content is not on
This content is not on the internet.
Okay.
It's on the Asanka. It's curated, and it's based on the Ghana Education Service.
Okay. So it's pure educational?
Yes, but it can be used for any other projects. We've had clients who've taken the Asanka device, they put the health content, and they put it in rural areas, and people access the health content. So some NGOs buy it and put content on it, and then put it in areas, and it's free.
Okay. So in my plain non-tech language, this is an offline device that makes you access content
freely,
remotely.
Yeah.
Without access to the internet.
Yes, without access to the internet.
So let's say I live in Domiabra or Dominasi, or let's say somewhere in Chito, or or let's say in Cape Coast, a village nearby Cape Coast. I don't have internet.
Yes.
How does this serve me?
So Asanka already comes with about 3 years of work in putting the content on the Asanka device. Now, so when the GS syllabus was reviewed...
And that's the device, right?
Yes, that's the device. We also reviewed it, right? And based on the syllabus, we attached PDF materials, videos, and other materials that you can use to learn on specific tablets. So there's videos on it, there's PDF, there's work questions, and also quizzes that you can take based on the GS syllabus.
And I see that you've got ports. These are USB ports?
Yes, these are USB ports for us to work with. However, if anybody wants to connect to the Asanka, just like this, it's a 1 watt device. Once you connect it, I'm using my laptop port right now, which is just 1 watt. Any mobile phone charger can put it on. It broadcasts the Wi-Fi. And then all of a sudden, using either old desktops, laptops, or phone at home, can read or learn specific content that they are asked to do over there, and there's no cost to them.
Okay, so it will come like the way you access Wi-Fi.
That's it.
Just because this is a central port.
The Asanka will broadcast a Wi-Fi for you to be able to access.
To at least 7?
Yes. No, 20 people.
At a time?
Yes, 20 people. We limited it to 20, but actually we could have made it more because we want people to watch the videos, to take the quizzes, and so 20 people can be using it at the same time. What should we be using these great devices that you have created? Yes, so Asanka First can be used in the home. Right now, I mean, children are at home, they're not doing any serious work. E-learning is a challenge. You get an Asanka for the child, put it at home, they can watch, they can use it the whole day. 1. 2, schools. Some schools, kudos to Alpha Beta. They've taken it, each class level has put PowerPoint materials on it. It's in the classroom, there's a projector, and the teachers teach it. So if the teacher is sick or is unavailable, they can just continue the lessons. So schools, homes, health posts use it, they take it. We do blank Asanka, where you add your own content. With that, they add a health information, videos on other health conditions, and they do orientation. People sit at the desk, they connect with their phones, and they keep accessing the content. So if, for example, you're Ghana Health Service, NGO, you do something, you travel to communities where there's no internet, etc., you have this well-packaged content inserted in there. Anywhere you go, everybody can access. 20. Imagine, so there was an NGO we worked with, World Education. They wanted to bring out the problems about clean cook stoves, for example. They put the videos on it, they put it in the rural area. They normally print out materials, but because of the videos, within 1 month, they had 600 unique connections on the Asanka alone. The people came back and watched the videos about the challenges of clean cook stoves. Just in the classroom. So I asked a question last, how do you teach waves to a rural area? How would you teach waves if you were a teacher? Waves? Yes, sea waves. It's very difficult, but we have videos. Of sea waves? Of course. What do you take a labadi? Yes, you do the recording. We put it on the Asanka, we take it to the classroom, either with one tablet, one old laptop. A teacher can actually demonstrate and show children what waves are. I see. So who will do the updates? Anybody or you, right? So both ways. So with the content that we put, we do the updates. We send a signal out, either a text message to everybody, and then you then download the new content. Just by connecting it to any cable, you download it. That's a one time. You also have a side where you add your own content. That is at your own will. You can add your own content anytime that you want. Okay. So if, let's say, I'm a church, I want to, I'm the head pastor, I'm based in Accra, but I have some rural branches as well. Mm-hmm. How do I get my weekly sermons on it? So absolutely, you could get your sermons together in pen drive or any form. We will preload them onto the Asanka, and then you send it out. So this allows you to prepare ahead of time and say that this week or that week, this is what will be learned. And this is exactly what the Alpha Beta school did. They ask the teachers, they break the lessons down, and this is what teachers already do. So they teach, they put the lessons on PowerPoint with pictures for the children to see. And then we put it all then put in the classroom. Why did you create this thing? Like you went to China, Hong Kong? No, I mean, so the creation. The creation process was within Ghana, and then we took it outside to the US to look for a device that is low powered, that is also cheap but durable. Because that was important. That was very important. But the whole concept, it's going to be used in a rugged terrain. So this is metallic, can fall several times and do nothing. Right? So the idea was conceived here to impact education in Ghana. How do we bring content into the classroom to make learning easier? Then, next after that, we went to the US. We sampled several devices. In fact, this is about the 4th iteration. If you see the first one, it's really crappy and small, but this is about an iteration. So this is 1 watt device. And we're looking for something that's durable and also low powered. How can we access this? Where can we buy them? If we want to get access to you, for example. Okay, so you go to myasanka.com. Myasanka.com. Yes, myasanka.com. It shows you all the videos. You can buy directly from there. We have a delivery partner that brings the Asanka to your homes. So once you pay there with mobile money or Visa card, will do. We also have numbers to call, which is our office line that you call. You can do a Momo payment, and then we ship or we do a delivery to you. The numbers are 0303 976 600.
0303 976 600.
Or 026 5733 200.
Yeah.
026 5733 200. Yes.
All right. Well, asanka.com. I think that's
myasanka.com.
Myasanka.com.
Yes.
The easiest way by which you can remember. Myasanka.com.
Yes, it's yours.
And it's where you get all the access. Thank you very much, Kafui Prebi. Yes. It's been nice meeting you.
Yes.
I'm a great fan of what you do.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we can work together on many related
I'm very
projects.
ready for your role.
Well, and that's where you have to take you, because one person who did great work for Ghana, beside what Kafui is doing for our country, is also the former president who also passed, President John Evans Atta Mills, and we all do know him, Professor. A ceremony is now being held to commemorate his life, his achievement, and Maxwell Agbagba is joining us from that famous Asumdwe Park just close to the Osu Castle. And what can you tell us, Maxwell? Maxwell, how is the ceremony going like?
Well, Roland, the ceremony just ended here at the Asumdwe Park. We had a wreath laying ceremony. It just ended. We had, tributes being read by the Chief Executive Officer of the Atta Mills Institute, Mr. Koku Anyidoho himself, read a tribute. He read a message, presentation from the presidency. We had Jerry Ahmed Saib. He is currently working with Mr. Koku Anyidoho, the Coastal Development Authority, of which Jerry Ahmed is the Chief Executive Officer. We are told they'll be carrying out some works here at Asumdwe Park. You remember that for some time now, the Asumdwe Park really, before the celebration of the 8th anniversary, it wasn't in a good state. So there was some kind of facelift before today's 8th anniversary. And right now, what they're going to do is to cut the sword. It's going to be a short sword cutting ceremony for the total renovation of the Asumdwe Park, which is going to be spearheaded by the Coastal Development, Authority. So as you can see, in the shot right now, it's Mr. Koku Anyidoho, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Atta Mills Institute, and Jerry Ahmed Saib, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Coastal Development Authority.
We do this in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen. So what you're watching right now is a sword cutting ceremony, and right after this we'll be hearing from Mr. Koku Anyidoho. We'll be hearing also from the Chief Executive Officer of the Coastal Development Authority. We want to hear the details of this renovation of this place.
Prof, I told you I'll do it. Prof, I told you I'll do it. It's being done. We thank the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. He's doing it not for his sake, but that God's name will be glorified. This country is too divided along political lines. You wanted to change it and transform it. You didn't finish, Prof. I will continue. We shall continue. We shall build a better Ghana. Sleep well, sir.
The words of Mr. Koku Anyidoho. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Atta Mills Institute. That has been done. He did this together with the Chief Executive Officer of the Coastal Development Authority. We'll be finding out from them the details of this. Let's get closer, see if we can. Let's see if we can have a word. Mr. Koku Anyidoho, you're welcome to join us, Mr. Koku Anyidoho. We want to find out what the sword cutting that we're going to do. What exactly did you promise, Prof?
I'm not too sure what exactly you want me to say, because I've said all there is to be said. I worked for a good man. He had faith in me. I wasn't jobless, I wasn't homeless. I came from a good home, good background, good education. I had skill, I had talent God gave me. President Mills noticed my skills, noticed my talent, and decided that he was going to use it to the best of his ability. I'm not saying he was a father, so he kept me, he taught me. We ran a campaign, we won an election, we had a vision, we had a direction, we had dreams for this nation. Somehow, God decided to call him to rest, but in the Bible, when Moses had to go get up and take the mantle, maybe I've been behaving like a Jonah for so long, running away from what destiny has for me. I've ended up in the bellies of whales, and I've ended up in the bottom of ships. I've been vomited on seashores, and now I accept my destiny. I have a duty and a role to perform in this country via the Atta Mills Institute, and I'll do it for God's kingdom to be established.
Now, in your speech, you said you've been demonized many times. Demonized by
I'm not going to go in, I'm not going to cascade into that. I said it, and then I think I want to stay on positive ground.
But finally, before you go, you've observed the political climate now, the voter registration exercise characterized by some violence in certain part of the country. We know Atta Mills stood for peace. He was a man of peace. What do you make of these happenings?
It's not right. It's not proper. In fact, that's the reason why the Atta Mills Institute has come. It's for civic education and public policy advocacy. What we have done in the nation is that we have concentrated our democracy on voting and elections. So the election has become a monster that is eating us up. We have neglected the civic education aspect of growth and development. Interestingly enough, constitutionally, the National Commission for Civic Education and the EC, whatever, they are ranked constitutionally. They are creations of the Constitution. So the EC chair and the NCC chair are ranked. I mean, they are protected by statute. Now, on the lighter side, Josephine Nkrumah, who is the chairperson of the NCC, and Jean Mensah, who is the EC chairperson, are all my classmates. We were in the university together from first year to final year. But interestingly, the NCC is hold, when I say hold, HOLED, in a small office within the EC building. That's where the NCC is positioned. It tells you how we have, hidden the NCC and projected the EC. You understand? But the civic education aspect of our growth and development is more critical than voting. But politicians have decided consciously to bury the civic education, and they've put us on voting and elections. That's why we are killing ourselves. This institute wants to open up the civic education. They realize that voting will pale into significance. The politician doesn't want to be reduced to ground zero, so he'll hide the civic education and make you glue you to voting. Because once the civic education comes up, people may not even be interested in voting because sugar and toilet, that's why you're voting for him, is that not it? But if through civic education, you can create that rice farm yourself and build your own toilet, when he comes around, will you listen to him? No. So that's what we are doing. And I need your help. If I only started the question, I didn't know that's where you're going. I was going to stop you. Because henceforth, I think I'm tired. Hard political, yes, I'm a politician. I haven't stopped being a politician. And I haven't stopped being NDC. But just like medical doctors, as we speak now, they are surgeons who are in the theater, performing delicate surgery to save lives. They are MPP, they are NDC, they are CPP. But they don't go into the theater with their political colors. Because they have to what? Save lives. So I'm a NDC. But with the Atta Mills Institute, it's for civic education, public policy advocacy. We have to save this nation. We have to save lives. Even with the politics that we are doing, this politics of insults. And the president did something the other day. So I'll say it so that it's not like I'm just being one-sided. President Mills one time when he went to deliver a State of the Nation address, and he inadvertently forgot to acknowledge the then Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Theodora Georgina Wood. Immediately we left the castle. For those days we were here. Of course, I was the head of his communications. I was his spokesperson, everything, speechwriter. So we to know that he had not acknowledged the woman. I thought that, oh, as the PR manager, I'll gather the personal press call. Some of them are here.